Right now on Hoosier News Source, find out about elections in Bloomington and on campus and how they'll impact students.
And some new information on the students who got arrested during a political protest on the other side of the country. We have the stories.
And I have the rain chances for the football game this Saturday, along with when we will finally begin seeing an end to the hot and humid summer weather. Hoosier News Source starts now.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Hoosier News Source. I'm Andrew Lamparski.
And I'm Meredith Strumming.
This week we start off our show with Zoe Mintz live and in studio with the updates on this week's weather. Zoe?
Thanks, Andrew. We will continue to see the hot and humid weather over our area for the next few days as the high pressure system that was over us this weekend continues to stall. However, by Friday, it looks like a cold front will push into our area, bringing with it the possibility of rain. It seems like around 2 o'clock on Friday is when the rain chances will be the highest as the high pressure system finally pushes down south. And this cold front will kind of meander in our area, bringing with it the possibility of rain all throughout the weekend. And unfortunately, there is also the strong possibility of rain on Saturday for the football game against Michigan State. Football game against Michigan State at 7:30, around 2 o'clock when everyone's going to go out tailgating, 77 degrees. 40% chance of rain though. It will be partly cloudy, so the sun may pop out. We don't know exactly how fast the front will be moving through our area, so we don't know exactly when the rain will hit us, but there is the chance throughout the day. It seems like at around 10 o'clock when the game will be ending, the chance of rain does go down and the chillier temperatures will continue to move into our area, so it won't be as hot and as humid as we have been seeing. So make sure you go and bring your ponchos if you're going to be tailgating at all, if you're going to be outside at all for the rest of the week. But we can expect some hot and humid weather for the beginning of this week, as you can see from the high pressure system over our area. Temperatures 89 degrees on Thursday, Friday 86 degrees before the front pushes through. And then into the weekend, you can see exactly where the front pushes through and just meanders into our area, bringing down the temperatures 77 on Friday, only 73 degrees on Sunday. We're looking at Monday and Tuesday, depending on how fast the front moves, there still is the possibility of rain and chillier temperatures. So make sure you go out and enjoy the last of the hot summer days this week. Andrew, Meredith, back to you.
Thanks, Zoe. Some states on the East Coast experienced disastrous weather this past weekend, along with record-breaking rainfall. Tropical storm Florence ripped through the Carolinas and the state of Virginia, leaving behind destroyed houses, roadways, and so far, 32 people dead. For some IU students, the natural disaster hits close to home and brought forth uncertainty for the safety of loved ones. Student Laura Lee Shallow said that her friend attending college in North Carolina was forced to evacuate to Charlotte.
Charlotte's still in North Carolina, so I'm still just worried in general because I know it's supposed to hit the Carolinas and Virginia.
On Monday, Florence was deemed a tropical depression, but threats of tornadoes, landslides, and severe flooding are concerns in the coming days. Though a final rain count has not been conducted, a meteorologist from weather.us said by the time Florence seizes, it will have dumped over 10 trillion gallons of water on North Carolina, about a quarter of the state's annual total. You can help those affected by Tropical Storm Florence by visiting www.redcross.org.
The state is nearing completion of construction on I-69 between Bloomington and Martinsville. Next month, construction will begin on the new phase of the project, an extension of the interstate from Martinsville to Indianapolis. Plans originally called for the I-69 project to be completed in 2027. That date was pushed up to 2024 thanks to an additional $600 million contribution from the state. Police arrested several IU students last week during protests related to hearings for Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. I spoke with one of those students this week. From right here in Bloomington to a picture in the Washington Post, several IU students made their presence known in Washington, D.C. last week. One of those students, Stanley Jaguna, was arrested for protesting in the middle of a Senate hearing for Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. Jaguna shared his experience with us all the way from the nation's capital.
They just finished a round of questioning, and a Republican senator on the committee was asking Kavanaugh about some general question about his views on the Constitution, which is what prompted me then to interrupt and say that I don't think that Judge Kavanaugh will protect the Constitution.
Capitol Police brought Jaguna to a federal processing facility where he was later released. Jaguna says his shouts during the hearing grabbed the attention of several committee members, including Senator Ted Cruz.
I think almost every member on the committee looked at me. I think I made direct eye contact with Ted Cruz. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people turned their heads. But honestly, that moment is sort of fuzzy in my mind because it was just sort of racing,
Jaguna was one of over 70 protesters arrested on September 5th. He says the goal of the protest was to send a loud message to the Judiciary Committee.
And I wanted to make it clear, like everybody else did that day, that there is really, really strong, unwavering opposition to this appointee.
Several other students were arrested the following day during a sit-in in Senator Joe Donnelly's office. The Senate Judiciary Committee is scheduled to vote on Kavanaugh's appointment this Thursday.
And speaking of politics, it's campaign season, and as always, campaigns have turned to students for help. We here at IUS-TV wanted to know how those students balance politics and school. So we sent our own Larmy Sanyon to find out.
Most IU students don't spend a typical Wednesday night at the Monroe County Public Library. Most spend it at home doing homework or relaxing after a long day. But this is exactly where you'll find sophomore Jack Payne Martin. He's a volunteer with the Amy Swain campaign, and he volunteers 10 hours a week.
Well, I love what I do. I believe in Amy, and I believe that we're working towards something great.
But juggling his passion for politics with schoolwork can be challenging, especially when you consider how much time campaigning requires, and that he also volunteers 10 hours a week for Liz Watson.
10 hours alone isn't bad, but the 20 hours together, and balancing 16 credit hours, yeah, like today I had a 6-hour shift, yesterday I had a 6-hour shift on top of classes, and the week is very stressful for me.
Jared Stancombe knows a thing or two about balancing schoolwork with campaigning. That's because he's taking 9 credit hours here at the law school as a graduate student while running for state representative.
My schoolwork is important, but also just helping bring attention to a cause and also advocating for it through my campaign is very important to me. That's what keeps me going, besides the lots of caffeine.
And as far as balance goes, Stancombe says,
there is no balance. Honestly, there is no balance.
But he says he has a special way of dealing with it all.
Really what sustains me is just going out and being involved, which takes more time. So it's like a cost benefit. Will this thing help me keep moving? Or will this thing just completely exhaust me?
Stancombe says the real work begins in November, and that's if he wins. If you're interested in joining a campaign, you can go online to find out more. The Bloomington bike sharing system called PACE turns 3 months old in just a few weeks. I got the chance to talk to a PACE rider, the project consultant, and even hopped on a set of wheels for myself. In June, the city of Bloomington and Indiana University partnered to launch the bike share program called PACE. Bloomington is the 13th city in the U.S. to bring PACE to its residents.
I feel like we're just providing another service to people that live here or in the community.
PACE strives to bring a manageable way to its selected cities by lessening traffic and reducing residents' carbon footprints. PACE project consultant Jane St. John says PACE offers Bloomington residents a different way to travel around the city and the campus.
It's a lot closer to where you're trying to go often. If you're going to class, for example, and someone's dropping you off 3 blocks from your class, why not just take a bike and get right to where you want to go?
To start, PACE riders can choose the PACE As You Go plan, where riders can purchase a 30-minute ride per $1, or they can opt for the monthly PACE plan, which includes unlimited 60-minute rides for $4.99 for the first 3 months of usage. You can park or pick up any PACE bike, like this one, at a Bloomington bike rack anywhere in the city. All you have to do is unlock the bike using the PACE app on your phone, and then head off to your next destination. While accessibility is the #1 priority for PACE, riders should be aware of how to avoid a common problem when unlocking the bikes.
Sometimes I think people have problems because your Wi-Fi's on, and it's searching different Wi-Fi systems. So I highly suggest to people to shut the Wi-Fi off when you're just commuting around downtown. And then if you're just on the LTE network, it should work really well.
Pace bikes will be available year-round since many Bloomington residents commute to school and work during the colder months.
The goal is to get every bike righted at least twice per day, and then Pace will increase the number of bikes.
At the end of the month, the city will assess how the bikes are being used. More bikes could be added, but until then, feel free to find a Pace bike near you and take it for a spin.
Within the year, Bloomington could see an increase in the cost of parking permits, ticket costs, and the number of free parking spots. The Bloomington Parking Commission says the inflation would generate more revenue for the city. The City Council will revisit the proposals at their next public hearing on September 19th.
Coming up, we tell you how the Hoosiers did in sports this week.
Plus, we have more information on a charity on campus and what that means for campus elections.
These stories and more coming up. Stay with us.
And it's an honor to be here.
After suffering a season-ending injury in late March,
As you can see behind me.
Welcome back. Last week, the Omega Phi Beta sorority had a menstrual products drive on campus. Students had the opportunity to donate products or money to the cause. Jonathan Levy has the full story.
This past week, the Indiana University Omega Phi Beta sorority chapter held their 5th biannual menstrual products drive. For the past week, they've been collecting donations of pads, tampons, and other monetary donations. The mission of the Indiana University Betas is to serve and educate people of diverse backgrounds through sisterhood, leadership, and guidance. These Beta sisters saw the issue of menstruation as a topic worth discussing, not only for women, but for the IU campus.
I think that menstrual health is a very taboo topic in general in our communities, and so this is an issue that affects not just women.
Their drive is directly helping homeless women in Bloomington who cannot afford and access menstrual products.
We do this to ensure that they never have to make the decision, should I buy menstrual products or should I buy food or where should I allocate my funds, the little bit that I have.
In the past years, the drive has collected over $400 worth of donations each semester, and in the past year, the sorority had received feedback to collect monetary donations. In the past semesters, the sorority has received over $400 in monetary donations. All of the products and money collected are sent to local, national, and international donation centers.
Yes, so our first location is the Shalom Center, and then from there we also pair up with Middle Way House, and then we're starting to think about international organizations that would benefit from this as well.
Professors and faculty also gave the menstrual drive great feedback.
They like to see that students are kind of more advocating towards community issues.
When asked if the issue of menstrual health should be addressed more privately, the volunteers did not hold back.
The more comfortable people are with it, the more they'll be in tune with our issues in our community.
In some way, shape, or form, someone you know is affected by this.
For Hoosier News Source, I'm Jonathan Levy.
Thanks, Jonathan. If you want to help the Beta Sisters with their cause, make sure to keep your eye out for next semester for the 6th biannual menstrual products drive. And this week, IUSA will have their legislative elections. The Walk to End Alzheimer's took place at City Hall this weekend. Over 600 participants walked on behalf of themselves or a loved one with Alzheimer's disease. Participants walked over a mile to raise funds for awareness. The foundation raised more than $103,000. To find out how you can donate, visit act.alz.org.
Indiana University has recently been rewarded with 2 grants for cybersecurity and a new investigative journalism program. The National Science Foundation just awarded $4.9 million for a center focused on protecting and securing research in the U.S. The Research Security Operations Center, also known as Research SOC, is a virtual center that will be led by IU and shared amongst other universities. As for the Media School, a new investigative journalism program will be launched in fall of 2019 after receiving a $6 million gift from Michael Arnold, an IU alum and journalist himself. Many IU sports teams were back in action this weekend. IUS TV sports reporter Joe Cantor joins us in studio with the highlights. Joe?
Thanks, guys. Football is back in Bloomington, and I've got the sunburn to prove it. The Hoosiers secured another win on Saturday when in-state rival Ball State came to town. It was another huge day for Stevie Scott, who went for 2 touchdowns and over 100 yards on the ground. The game also showed us the return of IU's kick return lethal weapon, Jay Shun Harris, who after coming back from his 3rd ACL tear, broke yet another punt return for a touchdown as the Hoosiers cruised past Ball State 38-10. Harris was named Big Ten Special Teams Player of the Week for the 3rd time in his career, and Scott earned Big Ten Freshman of the Week honors now in back-to-back weeks. The Indiana women's soccer team hasn't lost since August 26th, their only loss of the season, and they continued their stellar play last weekend when they opened up their Big Ten conference schedule. On Thursday, the Hoosiers won a double overtime thriller 3-2 over the Michigan Wolverines, with Melanie Forbes bringing it up the left flank and finding Chandra Davidson for the game-winning goal in the 108th minute. Sunday's game was far less compelling, but all the better for IU. The Hoosiers dominated start to finish and came away with a 3-0 win over Michigan State. Indiana is now 2-0 in Big Ten Conference play. The number 2 ranked Indiana men's soccer team was in action Sunday as well, up in Madison against their conference rival, Wisconsin. This budding rivalry has been simmering all summer after Wisconsin beat Indiana in the Big Ten tournament final in penalty kicks. This year's contest would have been close as well had it not been for IU's own Andrew Gutman. Gutman had a ridiculous performance all over the pitch, racking up 2 goals to lead the Hoosiers to a 3-1 victory over the Badgers. Well, guys, how about that men's soccer team? They're up to number 2 in the country.
Definitely. I am so glad they beat the Wisconsin Badgers because it was definitely payback for last year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for the rest of the season. Just between the double overtimes and the shutouts, it's going to be interesting to see where the next few weeks take us.
Well, if you guys get out to see them at all, make sure you wear sunblock.
Yes,
Yeah.
we'll take your advice.
We will.
Well, thanks, Joe. And that's all we have for you this week. For more campus and local news, visit our website at iustv.com.
And don't forget to find us on social media. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at IUSTV News.
From all of us here at IUSTV, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.